you introduce yourself, please, and tell us what country you were in and the years.
My name is Jill Webb. Right now I live in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. I served in 2000 to 2001 in Armenia, and I spent the language training portion in a little village called Pambak outside of Vamzor. And then I did most of my service in Gyumri, Armenia, which is right on the Georgian border in a town. And most of that was at a convent run by the Catholic nuns there.
Why don't you spell the name of that town that you lived in? That sounded daunting to me.
Pambak is, I believe, the Armenian alphabet is different, so, but it's P-O-M-B-A-K. I think that's what it is on Google Maps. And then Gyumri is G-U-M-E-R-Y-ish, but I think it's spelled different ways. I'll probably get that.
Oh, okay. All right. Now tell me a little about your background before you got into Peace Corps. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Midland, Texas, to a family with a lot of abundance. I'd really never known the sort of scarcity that I encountered a lot in my service, but I knew it was all around me, of course, but in my own life, I also knew I was somewhat privileged.
Did you?
Yeah. And then I didn't know how much, like you can't know how much, you know, when you're swimming in the water,
right,
it's hard to know what normal is or not, but I certainly knew that, you know, I never had to worry about having enough to eat or where I was going to sleep or anything like that.
Did you know anybody? Did you have any friends who were kind of marginalized like that?
I didn't. Well, not that I knew about. Like I was part of the generation that was bused. So I was taken from my neighborhood in 6th grade and bused to a very different part of town so that we mixed with people in the classroom.
For racial reasons?
For racial reasons,
okay.
Yeah. We were bused to try and integrate the school system in Texas, and it didn't. Texas, the place where I lived, really resisted it. So anyway, I was bused, and I could tell when I look back on it that the people, like I can remember this kid named Dwayne, who always wore the same clothes. But it didn't occur to me that until I was grown, that the reason that he always had the same clothes is because he didn't have any other clothes. Like it just never occurred to me that like someone could not have drawers full of clothes. Like that kind of lack was so outside of my experience that even when I was like seeing it every day, you know, and I was friends with Dwayne, it didn't seep inside of me in the, you know, because
did you ever go over to his house?
I did not, but I could see the houses all around the schools were very different than the houses I lived in. But I guess I couldn't put myself there, or I didn't understand what it meant, or all of those economic things really dawned on me later, not at the time. I'm grateful for the experience, but I wish I'd been able to integrate what it meant when I was in 6th grade or in high school, and I just wasn't capable of it.
Yeah.
The Peace Corps helped that a lot, but also so did just maturity.
Yeah, as I said, I grew up in Muskogee, and it was very racially segregated at that time. Yeah. And so black people lived in a little section over by a school and came into the white community to do jobs. And that was pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, my social life for my family really revolved around an all-white country club. So it was not, they were not, and there were black people at the country club, but they worked there.
Yeah.
And that was just a very fine line. And we also had, when I was a child, something called a domestic come in, and that was an African-American woman who came into the house to clean. But black people were not allowed in my house by my parents unless they were there at work.
Okay. All right. So where did you graduate from high school?
Midland, Texas.
Midland.
Yeah.
Boy, I was there once. I was out to visit a friend of mine who lived in Kermit.
Ah,
you
yeah.
know that, Kermit?
I didn't know Kermit.
Yeah.
Not far. So Midland, I didn't really graduate. I left early, but I left early for college.
Why did you leave early?
I was
You were
having
in a hurry?
No, I was having I got into Texas A&M early. I took the SAT early.
Yeah.
And then I was not happy at home, and my parents weren't particularly happy with me either, so I left in the middle of my senior year, and my dad told Texas A&M that I had a high school diploma.
Oh.
So I have.
And that's all it took.
You know, there wasn't, the records are different, and I think I had like done the work, but I never got a high school diploma. I do have a college degree, and I have a law degree.
Yeah, yeah. Well then, so you went to Texas A&M. Why did you go to Texas A&M?
My dad told me I could go anywhere I wanted to as long as it was A&M or Tech. A&M was
And Tech wasn't far enough away?
It's exactly right. Tech was about 150 miles, and A&M was about 400 miles. So
Yeah. Well, how was it at Texas A&M for you?
Texas A&M was a military school. Largely, it was very conservative. It was incredibly difficult for me.
What did you think you wanted to be, or were you even thinking about that?
I got a degree in education, and then I was a teacher, and I taught high school for 8 years after college, and I loved being a teacher. As soon as I got into the classroom with student teaching, I knew that I was doing something that I really loved. So it saved me. My college experience wasn't really great, but my academic experience and what I got out of it was good.
Were you a member of a sorority?
No, I was a member of
Were you a
wandering around by myself lonely.
So you were a GDI, if you remember what that
A
was.
GDI?
GDI? Goddamn
No,
independent?
that's me. Yeah. Some by choice and some not by choice, but that's definitely me.
Yeah. Okay. And you got your degree in education. Was that an idea that you had when you got to A&M, or did you develop it somehow there?
I knew that I wanted to contribute to the world in some way. That's always been really important to me. And one of the things that I learned that made the biggest impact was how to read a novel. And I know that sounds like, oh, of course, all you have to do is read it. But like, in order to get it, right? In order to really be seeped in the depth of it, the more you know, the richer the experience becomes. And I wanted to be able to to teach other people how to read deeply. And so I became a high school English teacher, and I also taught theory of knowledge. I was in an international baccalaureate program, and I taught psychology as well.
Psychology?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Sounds like you were kind of ahead of your time there.
It was a really lucky time.
I didn't know anybody like you.
I was very fortunate because it was before they started to test like they do, and in my philosophy class and theory of knowledge, they said you can teach anything that you want. You can choose your own textbooks and you can make your own curriculum as long as you talk about what it is to know versus what it is to believe. And so it gave me a huge amount of freedom. It was a great class with brilliant kids.
Oh, it sounds great. Did you, can you remember some of the novels that you read at that time and how emotionally moved you were psychologically?
Like, I know okay, my favorite book is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and I think it is closest to the great American novel for a long time.
Uh-huh.
And the part of it, for me, that's the heart of it, is when Huck decides that he'd rather go to hell than turn in Jim, the slave.
Yeah.
And he's convinced that the right thing to do is turn in Jim and say, this is the slave, everybody, he's on the run, because that was consistent with the law, it was consistent with the religious church that he had grown up with. It's everything in him said, this is right. But his conscience said, no, I cannot, because he loved Jim. And he says, and so the line is, all right, then I'll go to hell. And like, what courage that is, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just really, and it's such an American spirit too, of like, this is what the institution says, but the power of the individual to say, I cannot do this to my friend.
Yeah.
I deeply admire
Oh, that's
But,
terrific. Yeah, what a great example. All right, so you got into teaching. Did you feel like that was a calling for you, or did you feel like you had all the right qualities to be a teacher, or did you just sort of drift in and say, let's see how this goes?
No, as soon as I did my first lesson in my first moments of student teaching, I knew I would be good at it.
What happened?
They gave me a vocabulary thing to do, and the word was futile. And she said, go teach him this word. And then...
Futile?
Futile, yeah.
Okay,
So I wrote it on the board, and then the bell, was just about... She didn't give me enough time. It was so perfect because it was such a futile exercise, right? And so we used, the word and what was happening at the same time, and the kids were engaged, and it was kind of funny, and it was like, this is futile, and then, we sort of redid it and used that word as the rest of the semester went. But, there was such an immediate, look, guys, we're in this together, and this thing is happening, and I'm teaching, but, it's no good unless you're involved, too. I was immediately like that, and I was like, this is something that I could really enjoy. And I did for a long time. I love that.
How many years did you teach?
I taught 8 years.
8 years. And what levels?
High school. I taught juniors, all levels of high school, from freshmen to seniors.
All right. And where?
I taught in College Station at A&M Consolidated, and then I taught at Garland High School, which is a gifted magnet near Dallas.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And you just derived all kinds of satisfaction from this.
I did.
Fulfillment.
Yeah, I really love the kids, and I think that most of them love me.
Well, I was a teacher in Oklahoma City for a while, and they had a tracking system there. And what that meant was they grouped students in a class according to, in a grade rather, according to what they perceived to be their ability. So you got all the really brainy, bright people in one classroom, all the way down track number 9. And
Right.
all you got in track number 9 were kids that just wanted to get the hell out of there.
Right.
Did
I
you?
taught both of those. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah,
Huh?
when I started out after college, I wanted the most challenging kids. I was like, you give me the kids nobody else wants, those are the kids for me. That is a super aspirational and great. I celebrate that about myself, but
Yeah.
to take that on as a first year teacher, man, that'll punch you in the face. I tell you what, there's a million things that I did that I just, things back now, and I'm like, I did not know enough to do that. But as it went on, I always had classes that where kids were just struggling to get through the assignment, and then in the same day, I would have kids that I knew would just fit right in at Harvard, and they did. And that's where they were going. So.
And so you adapted to try to be the beneficiary of everybody.
Oh, for sure. Everybody has something in them that can catch on fire, right? Whether you're the person going to Harvard or you're the person who's going to fix carburetors, both of those people are valuable, and both of them, have a spark in them, for sure.
Yeah. And you wanted to ignite the
I
spark.
wanted to ignite whatever spark they got going that is, good and curious and honest.
No, that sounds great. So, would you call it a uniformly positive career in teaching?
I would call it, no, not uniformly positive, because like I said, I felt like I got my teeth kicked into just by life and my expectations. When I said, how could you have people without drawers full of clothes? Man, teaching will, because you do have kids that don't have enough. Or I was taught this is so humiliating, I was taught in my education courses that if kids are having trouble, I should call their parents and say, is something going on at home? And so one of the first things I did was I had a kid with a behavior problem, and I said, is something going on at home? And she was so insulted to think like it was her, she took that as I was calling the mom and saying, it's your fault. what are you doing wrong
Right.
that's making this happen? And so she got defensive, of course. And then
Of
I'm like,
course.
oh, all of a sudden I'm doing this thing where I'm trying to help this kid and I'm blaming the mom, and like it immediately got tangled in emotionally and all sorts of things, and it made the situation worse. And so I was just sort of humbled constantly through difficult experiences. I learned a lot, but gosh, those lessons can be humbling.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll get to the part where you are no longer a teacher, where you decided to move on. What happened?
The kids kids are always the same age, and I keep getting older. I didn't like that part. And I really wanted to do something else, and I didn't know what. And I was at a point in my life, I went at an unusual time for the Peace Corps. I went in my early 30s. I knew I didn't want to do what I had been doing, and I didn't know what was next. I always admired the whole idea of the Peace Corps and always wanted to do it. So
You'd always heard about it?
yeah. So I thought,
Did you ever know anybody who had been in Peace Corps?
I've never known anybody in the Peace Corps. It's not my family. I come from a good family that I'm really proud of, but it's not full of Peace Corps service people.
Well,
Like,
mine wasn't either.
Yeah, I mean, I think they supported and admired me for it, but no, there's not a. No.
So one of the questions that I ask everybody is, when you started thinking about Peace Corps and talking about it, were your friends basically supportive, or did some of them say, Jill, you're crazy, you don't even know what you're getting into?
I think everybody was supportive. I can't. If anybody wasn't supportive, they didn't tell me about it. So
They didn't talk like that.
yeah, everybody was. I don't think anybody was really surprised, because I'm kind of bent that way. And I know somebody who went into the Peace Corps who I taught, that I probably influenced to go into the Peace Corps.
Oh, excellent.
So I mean, it's just really beautiful. So
Yeah.
I thought everybody was really kind.
So what year was this?
2000.
2000.
So yeah, I joined in 99.
So you were-
and I shipped off in 2000.
Yeah, but when did you first start thinking about it? What
Probably-
year was that?
Oh God, like probably in the 80s.
In the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in 1967 in the summer of love,
Uh-huh.
and I just really, there's something about that I just always really claimed. I love the whole idea of service and of community, and of living at the same level of the people that you're trying to help. I didn't always do the best at like being kind of an arrogant American. You try not to do that, but it's sort of like the drawers and the clothes in the drawers thing again. Sometimes you do it without. I was arrogant and I didn't even know, but
Was there one sort of tipped you to Peace Corps for sure, and you knew you were going to apply? Or was this a gradual thinking?
it was a gradual thing, really. Well, and lots of things in my life. I got to a point in my relationships and financially and things like that where I was steady enough and I could really pivot. And it's like, what do I want to do? And I thought, I want to go to the Peace Corps, and then we'll see what happens after that. That's what my attitude was.
At that point, did you reach out to Peace Corps and want to talk to somebody about it?
I didn't. I didn't do hardly any research. I went to Peace Corps, and they said, "What kind of place do you want?" And I said, "I'd love a place by the water, if it's the ocean or a river or whatever." Got
Well, you didn't get it.
I got
did you?
landlocked. But I said, "I'll take. Just put me where you need people."
That could be any. That could be South America, Caribbean, Africa.
Haiti, Africa,
Yeah.
whatever. I would have
Okay.
gone anywhere that they sent the letter. I would have said yes. They said Armenia, so I looked up Armenia. I was like, where's that?
Were you also thinking about this in terms of it being a phenomenal adventure for you?
Yeah, I wanted an adventure. I wanted to really shake up my life. I wanted to learn another language. I wanted to experience like everything being broken down so that it's sort of like, you know, you learn how to talk and you learn how to eat, and like it's like being a child again, almost sort of a rediscovery of things that we take for granted.
Interesting way to put it.
I wanted all of that, so I knew it was going to be challenging, but that's why it's going.
Okay, and who did you talk to? What recruiter?
Yeah, it was Dallas Peace Corps office. They called, or I don't remember. I had an interview, and then I got a letter a few months later, and then I went on the first plane.
2 months later, did you say?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So you applied. You said, I'll go anywhere. I'll do anything.
Yeah, I did.
Come on.
And she was even like, "Well, do you need privacy, or do you need like what?" And I was like, "Well, I would like, you know." I mean, I was so open. They could have put me anywhere.
Okay. And it took 2 months, and you were accepted.
Yeah.
And
seems like.
did they, at some point here, after you'd been accepted, did they ask you where you'd like to go? But then I guess you'd already taken care of that by saying you'd go anywhere.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was
The
not a
only one
consideration.
thing I wanted was to be near water, which turned out not to be that important. But
Did you tell them that you wanted to be by water?
Yeah.
You wanted to be in a coastal?
it was the only. Yeah, I said I either wanted to be on a coast or near a river or a lake.
Why do you think that was? What was the attraction there?
I still do.
That
I
it
think
wasn't
there's
West Texas?
Yeah, I mean, I'm from the desert. Like, it hardly ever rained. I really love the water. I appreciate water, I think, in a way that people who are raised on it have a hard. People who are raised in the desert appreciate water in a different way than people who don't. So.
Okay, so you were accepted in 2000.
Yeah, in '99. I was accepted in '99, and then I got on the plane in 2000.
Okay, and where did you go for
Armenia.
your training?
Well,
I guess there's something else before training, right? Where you meet for 3 or 4 days somewhere.
yeah, I did. Yeah, so we went to Chicago. We all met in Chicago, and then we flew to the capital, Yerevan, and then we did a few days training in a place called Vanazor, which is not far from the village where I live. That didn't last very long.
There.
And then you know, they take you to your little village. Everything happened so fast. It just feels like we were also surprised that the American people from the Peace Corps, they don't go with you. Like you're just getting on a plane and then and people meet you there.
Mm-hmm.
It's an adventure. It's wonderful.
What did you think of your group that you were with? Were you compatible with them?
Yeah, the group is very eclectic by its nature. I guess every Peace Corps group is.
Yeah.
I got along with them great. Good people. I mean, people with generous hearts and curious minds tend to join Peace Corps, and so when you get us all together, it's pretty fabulous.
Yeah.
Generally.
And how many were there about?
I don't know, about 30.
About 30? And they were from all over?
They were from all over the United States, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's kind of, I always looked at that as being one of the big assets, just being around other people from all over the country.
That's really
who had similar interests. I thought that was
it's
nothing
a big
better.
Perk. Yeah, big perk. And I still keep in contact with a lot of them.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, one thing, there were some in our group that I looked at and got to know a little bit and thought, it's not going to work for them. I didn't tell them that, but did you have anybody like that?
I mean, there were people in our group that had an easier time than others, but, you know, maybe I don't know. I don't know if, I don't know. I think we all sort of mostly kind of ducked to water. That Armenia was, there's a lot of, like, it didn't have a McDonald's, or they'd never heard of drive-thrus, or, I mean, but at the same time, there were cities there, even in the village where I lived, which was very much like people lived 500 years ago, except for the fact that they had a car, you know, so I don't think it's the most difficult service that I can imagine.
What was your training? How long was your training, and what was it like?
I lived in a house in Pambuk in this with a mother, father, girls, their daughters, and then the husband's parents. And
Pretty crowded, sounds like.
yeah, I had my own room, but it was a full house. And the parents, the old people, the father was sick, and it was one of the differences, one of the first differences, because I could hear him moan, like he was really, I mean, he was in pain. And so I went, you know, kind of in my broken way to the mother of the house, and I'm like, is there something,
Yeah,
is there somebody,
what
like,
can we
you
do?
can't call an ambulance or something, but like, clearly, you know, can we do something? And she said, oh, he's in pain, dying, it's okay. Like, there was such an acceptance of people get old and they die in their house, and it's painful. Jill, what do you, like, that happens in America too, right? But it doesn't, because we put our pain over here, like, you know, but to make someone's pain as sort of part of the household and an accepted part, and that, you know, you comfort when you can, but it's not something that they have to hide or be ashamed of, and it's just sort of accepted as a part of the dying process. That in and of itself was a huge lesson, you know, that I just lived way into my life.
Did it occur to you that, yes, all that's right and proper in their society, but there are pills that you can use to curb that pain?
Right. Yeah. They just weren't available.
They went, yeah.
You know, so at one hand, yeah, I really wanted to give him comfort. And had I had them, I'm sure he would have taken them and it would have been better. But the fact that they didn't, I'm not saying that it's better to suffer, because I don't believe that. But there is something about accepting people's suffering and accepting suffering as a part of death that's really healthy. You know?
Absolutely. Okay, so did you have any, other than that, did you have any other problems with your host country, your hosts, who
No.
you stayed with? I'm talking about just training now.
Just training.
Yeah.
So this was the best. It was like the first day. I go in and we've got a translator there, and they have this big dinner for me, where the people, and they had never met an American before, so they're like looking at me like, you know, and they said, how often do you take a shower? That was one of their very first questions.
To you.
To me.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm talking to the translator, and I'm like, I will take a shower as often as you take a shower. That, like, I don't have any big requirements here. And they said, no, like in Dallas, where you live, like, how often do you take a shower? And I thought, well, I don't want to make them feel bad, but I'm going to tell them, I'll be honest. And so I said, well, I take a shower every day, and sometimes if I'm going somewhere after work, I'll take 2 showers, right? And then they talked, and they were blah, 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 in Armenian. And then the translator, the translator looks at me, and she says, they say that you must live like pigs in America to need to take a shower that often. Like, right? So, which makes perfect sense. Like, I thought that taking showers very often meant that I'm clean. And they thought that taking showers very often clearly meant that I'm so dirty, right? And it, like, the whole lesson to me of, like, being culturally, you know, competent overseas is just realizing that whatever it is that you do, you're going to think that's the clean way. Whether it's taking showers all the time or not taking showers all the time, you will make that the clean way. And the opposite is the dirty way, even though, like, everybody, there's truth on both sides, right?
Sure.
So
But that's pretty.
that was a big lesson.
That must have been pretty shocking to you.
I was like,
to hear
oh,
that.
like, it was really shocking. It was a good lesson.
No, it certainly was. All right. Let's see. Language. What about the language, the foreign language that you're going to have? You wanted to learn, you said, and what is it?
Armenian has a different alphabet. Before I went, I did all these flashcards, like trying to get kind of the basics down.
Armenian flashcards? You
Yeah,
found those?
I didn't know. I made them. I was like, when I showed up with them, the Armenians and the other Peace Corps volunteers who had been there for a while thought it was funny. But I was just trying to. And here's the deal that was so hard for me. I don't talk a lot anyway. Like I'm a person who's sort of extremely introverted.
Mm-hmm.
So I could talk when I'm teaching and I can talk like this, but like if I'd rather like throw myself off a bridge than introduce myself to somebody I don't know. But like, so that makes it really hard to learn a language because like part of the whole learning process is small talk. It's like having the same, you know, having someone be patient
Right.
with you.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people who would do that with me, like the Armenian family that I lived with would have been happy for that. But like I felt so just internally overwhelmed by what was happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I deal with stuff like that is to sort of not shut down, but like sort of go inward, and that hurts my language training, right?
Yeah.
So if I had to do it over again, I would have forced myself on every day to just talk more for the sake of talking, you know. And I was also very trained. It's just a Western thing that when I talked, I had to have some sort of purpose for it, like it had to have some use and I think it doesn't have to be like that. Like the rest of the world so
Yeah.
much slows down and just like, and they would always say, why are you like, because I'd be like, I got to go to class. I got like things. And they were like, no, you just stop, like just have some breakfast. Just like talk. You don't have to get there on time. What does that
Yeah.
even mean? And there's a lot right with that sort. I'm not saying that that's the most efficient way to do it or that's how you build the biggest economy. But if you want to be happy and like just slow down and enjoy your life, you know, just wait and have coffee with the people you want to have coffee with before you go to work. Like,
And learn their language.
and learn their language.
Yeah.
It is very important, and I wish I'd have practiced it more. I was fine, and I got around, and you know, you do have sort of the same conversations over and over, so you get really good at those. But
Well, I read that there are a lot of English is the major language in Armenia.
yeah, yes, but it wasn't. I mean, there were people in the convent who spoke English, whose English was very good, but most of the people that I interacted with, my Armenian was better than their English, right? So, especially being an English teacher.
Yeah. So, but you, how badly did you need to learn the foreign language in order to interact with your peers and with your friends?
I could be passable. There were a lot of people who knew it better than I did. But as part of the service that I did, I didn't have to be terribly fluent. Because I was, you know, the fact that I was teaching English, I knew enough Armenian and I knew what I was trying to communicate to get by. And like I said, I don't have, plus I remember I went in this little bitty store in the middle of nowhere. Like it was literally a boxcar on a mountain and you had to take a path, and then it was like a store with an old woman in it. She was like 70 years old, and she had like bottled water and gum and candy and toilet paper. Like, and so I walk in looking like me, and I said, I would like Jermuk, which is this sort of sparkling water. And I said Jermuk, and I said it right. Like, I don't know if I'm saying it right now, but 20 years ago I knew how to say it. But just the fact that I was so weird looking, and I was taking up this big space. I'm not a terribly big person, but I was taking up this space and being really different, and then I had an accent. She ran out of her own store. Like, wow. I said Jermuk, and she like ran out of her store and got her husband, and he had to come, and like I was just trying to hand her money.
Wow.
But like the experience of me was really overwhelming because, you know, she lived on this mountain in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden I just show up.
Yeah.
So like the impact that I had on people, I guess maybe this is part of being everybody in the Peace Corps. Maybe it's a very common thing, but it is really striking to realize that your presence is so odd that it can be overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, that's quite an example there. I started thinking that maybe that woman thought that you were some kind of devil.
It might have been like they, you know. They also the Armenian religion at the time, and I know Armenia is different than it was 25 years ago. But where I was, we would go into these little temples on top of hills in the Caucasus Mountains, and there would be like chicken feet that had been sacrificed next to a Christian cross. So there is still in Armenia, at least what I witnessed, that had a fusion of very early Christianity with paganism that was still going on after all these hundreds of years. It was a fascinating fusion.
So how long were you in this place for your in-country training?
In-country training was 3 months.
3 months. Okay.
Yeah.
And at the end of the 3 months, did you look back on it and think that was really good? I really benefited from that, or did you think something else?
I thought it was very beneficial. I would not have wanted to live there the whole time. It's difficult to live with another family. But
you mean you wouldn't have wanted to have lived with that family for 2 years?
Well, I just wouldn't want. I love that family, and it taught me so much. And I made it one of the things I'm most proud of after. And it's not really me, but when I went in there, the girls. There were 3 daughters, and none of them were allowed to ever wear pants. And it was just a very traditional family. They couldn't have short hair, and they couldn't wear pants.
Okay.
And when I left, the youngest daughter had cut her hair, and she was wearing pants. And it was because it was because of me, right? That like I sort of set this example and normalized it, and the family was like, and maybe the whole village was like, because it's a very tight place. Oh, it's okay. Like you can be a good person and a woman and wear pants and have short hair. And that sort of, enlarging of freedom it just feels really priceless. And who knows what the ripples of that on down generations will be.
That would be so interesting to have some idea of that.
I don't know, I hope, I don't know, but I hope that, I think a lot of those girls, and I really wish them well, and I hope that my impact on them was good.
I'm sure it was, because your intentions and your creativity and everything else are so well. So, that I think they've got to not only benefit, but they've got to slow down, stop, evaluate before they benefit.
Yeah.
And it sounded like they did.
Yeah. It was extraordinary.
All right, so after the 4 months.
So then I went to Gumri, Armenia.
Did Peace Corps tell you where you were going and what you were going to be doing?
Yeah, they told me.
We haven't even talked about that. What was your assignment? What was your job supposed to be?
My job was to teach English. So they knew that I was a teacher back in the States. I was, comfortable doing that. So that's what I did. At first, I was assigned to a university, but I never really had any students there. I don't know, the whole thing, it never really, at first, I didn't really understand what I was supposed to be doing. But then I got hooked up with this convent, and really, really loved the nuns.
Did you hook yourself up with the convent?
Yeah, I think I met them, and then they asked me to help, and then I started to really help them a lot, and then Peace Corps put me over in the convent, and I started to live at the convent.
Oh.
And the convent itself took care of orphans. The Armenians had an earthquake, a major earthquake a few years before, and had left thousands and thousands of children as orphans. And so a lot of them went to the convent. And so I lived in the convent, and I taught both the orphans and the nuns English. That was most of my service.
And you decided that they really needed to learn English in order to better themselves.
Yeah,
as a group,
that's what
right?
they wanted. Yeah, the head mother, or Mother Superior did want the kids to have English, and she wanted her nuns to too. Most of the nuns were international nuns, and they already spoke several languages. So Mother Superior, I think, spoke 5.
Wow.
Like all of them spoke like Italian, because they would go to Rome, and like they were incredible women. It made me a huge lifelong fan of nuns. It just the dedication. I went to this place in Speak Talk, Armenia, which is in the middle of nowhere. Like you have to go through nowhere to get to this middle of the nowhere. And there's this little orphanage there where they take care of handicapped kids in Armenia, or at least they did back there. And all of them were just taken care of by these nuns. And so we went there and we took them things. I can't remember. And then we spent time with them and sang a song or something. And then I left, and I just thought, if the nuns weren't there, there's no safety net, right? If those nuns weren't there, those kids would die.
Yeah.
And nobody knows about them, right? It's not like, the International Speed Talk Nun of the Year award. Nothing. They're just over there quietly saving the lives of these children. It's
so the
incredible.
the nuns don't have relationships with nonprofits.
I guess they do. Somehow they're making it out there, but not like big ones. It's a simple place. It was a clean and decent and good place, but it was a simple place that just took care of these kids and gave them a place to grow up, and then did their best for them and to send them out to the world. Nuns are incredible.
Yeah.
They're all over the world. And nuns take vows of obedience, and they take vows of poverty. And priests don't take vows of poverty. Nuns do. And they give away and they share what they make and what they have. Nuns are incredible. Big fan of nuns.
Yeah. Well, it does me good to hear this, because I was raised a Catholic in Muskogee, and the nuns there were pretty mean.
Yeah.
Pretty mean.
Yeah. Nuns aren't universal, Nuns are like everybody else. Good nuns and bad nuns. But overall, the nuns that I met were amazing.
Well, then I sent my kids to a Catholic school in Oklahoma City, and the nuns were fantastic. I loved all of them, just like you.
Yeah.
So it depends.
It just depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were going to be doing this for the full 2 years.
That was, yeah.
And Peace Corps, did Peace Corps direct you, or did you find the nuns on your own?
Honestly, don't remember. I lived near the nuns anyway. The apartment that they put me in when I was going to go to the university was 2 blocks from the orphanage and the convent. So it was sort of inevitable, kind of. There was one of the nuns was from Kentucky. She was a doctor, and it was so welcome to have somebody to talk to. I'm sure she, in some level, felt that way too. So it was a nice connection.
Yeah. About the, let's see. No, I lost my train of thought. It was going to be, this was a convent. It wasn't a school.
It was both. It
both.
was a convent, but also they had classrooms, and it was a big place. Yeah.
So what grade level were you teaching English to?
It was young kids. It was, I'd say, the equivalent of 5th through 8th grade.
And what were their English skills like before, when you showed up?
There was a couple of kids who were really pretty, not pretty fluent.
Pretty fluent?
Yeah, better than my Armenian, and they were very helpful. And then there were some kids who could not speak English at all. So.
Well, it's one thing to want to teach kids English, but it's another to try to figure out how to do it.
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying that I was the best, but I think We did a lot of singing in my English
Singing?
classes.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of, I used hip hop songs sometimes.
Uh-huh.
I kind of did the best I could with it. We did my own flashcards. I'm big on that, and so I don't know. I tried to sort of make it a game.
Did you have like lessons plans every day, or?
Yeah, I sort of had a loose plan, and I knew what I was going to do before I went in there, and part of it is just, even though it's not terribly successful, quote unquote, like if I didn't achieve a big goal that I had for that day to learn 20 words and we only learned 10, there's value in the struggle of trying to understand one another, right? And it was just like me being where I am and them being where they are, to sort of come together and figure it out and be with one another. Sometimes, this is the biggest thing I did when I was there. For the kids, and it didn't have anything to do with teaching English. There was a soccer field next to the convent, and it was only for boys. And it didn't have a sign that said only for boys, but only boys played on it. So I was like, hey, let's go, why don't you go play soccer on this thing? They're like, no, we cannot. It is only for boys. So I got a friend of mine in the States, and she contacted the Mia Hamm Foundation, who was a big female soccer player back then. And they sent me posters and soccer balls and all this stuff from the foundation. And so I gave it to the girls, and I'm like, all right, we're going to go play soccer on the field. And they were like, oh my gosh. So some other volunteers came, and so there was like 5 Peace Corps volunteers out there, and we got on the field. And then there are these girls, these orphans, who are just on the edge of the field, and we were like, come play, and like they were so stopped, like they were like, can we? And they were like, it's okay, come onto the field. And they stepped onto the field, and it was like, it didn't like break open and then fall into hell, like, so and we played soccer, and we started meeting there, and like none of us really knew how to play soccer very well, not like, that's not the thing. The thing is that the girls knew that field was as much theirs as it was anybody's. It was because it was, it was only a cultural thing that didn't allow them to play, and it absolutely normalized for at least that area of Gyumri, Armenia, for at least that time. It opened it up to them. And again, like, I hope that it broke down a whole bunch of things in their heads, but the watching those girls play soccer was one of the best things I ever saw. And I thought, I even remember thinking at the time, this is the only thing I do. I'm glad I came.
Oh yeah. Did you ever have any conflict within yourself about trying to change something that was embedded in their culture? Just because you didn't like it? Just because
I didn't like it? Yeah, like the gender roles?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't give myself a lot of pause for that. Like, honestly, maybe I should have. But the way that I experienced Armenia back then, so I'm not saying this is true for everybody, but I remember saying this to one of the women. Like, if the women of Armenia at the time that I lived there stopped working, everyone would die. Like, no one would get fed. None of the kids would get, like, raised. None of the houses would be, like, people, like, the day-to-day survivability of what people do to, like, eat and do things, everyone would die if women stopped. If the men stopped doing what they were doing, it would take a long time for anybody to die.
Yeah.
And part of that wasn't their fault, because the economic situation in Armenia was really difficult at the time. They had just fallen from the Soviet Union. There was a lot of things that made them, but they weren't in the day-to-day of, like, this is my home and I need to contribute to it. These are my children and I need to help raise, like, those sorts of things. And maybe it's just there were things going on that I couldn't see. That's really possible. But it sure did seem like the women were carrying these huge burdens of work and of worry that the men did not. And so I felt like expanding their view of what they're capable of was a good thing. And I didn't give a lot of thought to, well, you know, this is the sort of their traditional ways. I mean, I'm a Peace Corps volunteer. Like, I'm from somewhere, and I have a point of view, and they asked me into their house, right? They knew that I was, so in some sort of sense, I thought they wanted me to be myself, you know?
So lead by example rather than lecture?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do, but I'm not going to be like there are lots of things about myself that I didn't really advertise. That's very true. But as far as just being a woman and doing what I,
It's a male-dominated country.
yeah, we weren't allowed to. I mean, we weren't allowed to drive because we were Peace Corps volunteers. But like, women rarely drove. It was not a Muslim country, but it was just very conservative,
Mm-hmm.
especially gender.
And most women accepted their roles as underlings.
Yeah, but I don't know if they thought of themselves as underlings as much as they thought of themselves as this is women's work.
Yeah.
And it's important, but I have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't do that. I got to do this. And there's community there, and there's good things there. And like I said, if people don't do it, everybody's going to die. So, but I've always felt like the guys kind of got off easy. I'm sure that they don't look at themselves that way, and there's lots of things that I'm missing, but it sure did seem like that from that outside.
I was wondering when you were talking about taking the girls over to the soccer field and saying, come on, let's play. If any of the girls had the idea that some males were going to show up and say, get out of here, you know you're not supposed to be here.
I think that maybe they did. But it's also kind of the privilege of being a volunteer as well. There's a confidence that goes with being an American.
Right.
In a sense of, oh, well, I can do this. This is okay. Like, you know, that is very useful in moments like that. So it's like, you don't have to worry. And plus, even if somebody did say, hey, they're girls, they can't be here, I would have said, show me the law. Like, what? I mean,
yeah.
It's not like the police are going to show up.
No. Did the Peace Corps assist you in a substantial way during your time there? Did you ever need Peace Corps to assist you?
Peace Corps was, I mean, we got our stipend, so which I felt was really fair. There wasn't any problem living on what they gave me. I thought that my in-country support was fair.
In-country support?
Well, like they check on you, you know, make sure you're okay. I thought the staff around Peace Corps at the time in Armenia was attentive and really fair.
Okay, so there wasn't anything they could have done for you that they should have done for you?
No, I have no complaints about any aspect of the administration of my service at all. I think that those people were wonderful.
How close were you to other PCVs?
I was very close to a few of them, and the ones that was close to then, I don't talk to all the time, but I love them dearly, and I think they love me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean physically close, in the sense that they weren't 4 hours down the road.
Right.
Well,
I lived in a city, and so there were other volunteers within the city. They didn't live in my neighborhood, and they didn't live in the convent. I was the only volunteer in the convent. But if I wanted, to go have a meal with somebody, with an American, I could do it, and it was 30 minutes away.
And you did that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you travel together with other PCVs around Armenia and maybe even outside?
Yeah, I went to we went to other other Peace Corps sites together. So we were spread out all over the country. Armenia is next to it borders Iran, and so I could go there and watch Iranian television because you could get the signals. That was fascinating. but it was a very different experience than being where I was in Gyumri, which was right next to Georgia, the Georgia border. And the difference between Georgia as a country and Iran as a country is crazy big.
Yeah.
So just going to different parts of Armenia, the part near Azerbaijan was very different. Anyway, there are just lots of different parts of the country that were different, and we were in all of them. So we went to each other's houses, and the only place that I went with another volunteer is I spent a little time in Moscow on a
Moscow, Russia?
yeah.
Oh.
I had a training I went to, and so I went with another volunteer to that. That was really interesting.
Wow. Why Moscow of all places?
I don't know why they had us go to Moscow, but they did. We went to Moscow for this education training, for education Peace Corps training.
How long did that last?
Just like 3 or 4 days. Went to Red Square.
Oh, wow. That
Sang
sounds like
karaoke in an American karaoke bar in Moscow. It was one of those things where it was like, I can't even believe this is happening.
I know.
You know?
I know.
You get in these situations and it's like,
That's
huh?
terrific.
Yeah.
Yes. Good Lord. Well, so you did a fair amount of traveling
A little bit.
around, and was there ever a time that Peace Corps, that you needed Peace Corps' help for any reason?
Yeah, I mean, so, and I don't want to say a lot about this, but eventually I was medically evacuated from Peace Corps. And so I got into a situation in the country where I needed some help. And that's when I say that the administration and everything, they were extremely responsive. And I came home.
When was this that you were?
It was a little of after a year after my service. So
No, no,
after I'd been in the country for a little more than a year, I'd been at the convent for several months, almost a year. So,
Almost a year, and then you got sick or injured?
Yeah.
What?
Then I got sick, and in a way that couldn't be treated in country, and they flew me home, and I stayed home.
Was
I
this
wanted to go back, and it just wasn't in the cards for me. I
Oh, they
just had a
flew you
shorter
back
stay.
so that you could recover, but then you could have returned.
No, I was
No?
I wasn't at a place where I could go back, and my service ended.
Okay, so you were there for a year, did you
Yeah, I
say?
was there for a little over a year.
Okay. Do you really regret that you couldn't stay longer? Or do you think you did a fine job and that was...
If I wish that I could have finished. Even at the time, I was desperately grieving the fact that I couldn't go back.
Yeah.
And
there
I
was...
still have feelings about it, but I can see how my life benefited from me staying here and getting better, but not finishing. There was something terrible about it.
You felt like it was terrible.
Yeah, I wanted to go back, and that is so silly. But like right before I left, I planted these marigolds in the garden in the convent, and I never got to see them sprout. And I left right when the shoots were coming up, and it's so odd, but I still, 25 years later, think about those marigolds.
So that's kind of a metaphor, wasn't it?
Very much.
Yeah. Oh, man. Something you'll never forget.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said you didn't want to go into it very much. Do you mean you don't want to talk about what was wrong with you, what happened?
I would rather not. That's okay.
Okay.
I know, I'm sorry. I feel like I've let you down in some big way.
Well, it's
If it's
not
okay.
letting me down.
If it's
so
okay,
much.
if we could just, I was medically evacuated in a situation that is kind of personal and difficult, and it took longer for me to heal than I expected.
Can you tell me what the illness was? No.
Physically I could, but I would just rather if it's okay.
All right. Okay. Well, the mayor of Tulsa, Roger Randall, was medically evacuated out of Brazil. as a Peace Corps volunteer, and he, it was terrible for him.
Yeah, it's a difficult way.
Have you ever met him?
I have.
Did you know that he was in Peace Corps?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, other than that, do you feel like you have any other regrets of any kind that are connected with your Peace Corps service?
Other than not being able to finish, and I wish I had taken more time for small talk.
So that you could learn the language better?
Just so that I could learn the language. Like, I didn't put as much significance, I think, as I should have on just the impact of being with somebody. Like just like sharing, not just like that you and I are doing, but just value in that, and there's bigger value when it's cross cultures. And I couldn't see it. Like even I was so entrenched in value being like things that are measurable rather than just being in community with people. I wish I knew more about that lesson before I went than after I went.
Well, part of it's because you said you're introverted.
Yeah.
It's just not you to walk up to people and start talking.
It's not. And it's really hard, when I don't know the language that well. But it's just also, I don't know. There's a shared humanity that we all have. That we want to be loved and we want to connect and all that. But sometimes I forget that.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like wanting to be loved and the wanting to connect is only me, and that everybody else is just fine without me.
Sure.
So, which is also part of the human condition too, right? Of feeling alone in it, and that desire for connection, which of course, it's the most human thing in the world, but there is something isolating about it, and I especially back then, suffered from it, feeling like I was different in a way that people might have difficulty connecting to, when that wasn't even really true.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
Yep.
And that's not I give myself a lot of grace around that, because I think it came from, really honest places. But healing that part of me is very beneficial. And if that part of me had healed so that I knew, no, it's okay. We all just need love and just want connection, and it's okay to sit and talk and be, and it's okay to make mistakes in front of each other, and it's okay.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. It took me a long time to learn that lesson.
Do you keep up with any of your former students, or the nuns, or anybody else over there?
I don't keep in touch with any Armenians, although I would. I wish they would find me on Facebook.
Have you looked yourself?
I haven't. I haven't, but I wonder about them a lot. I reconnected with one of the nuns after I got back. I think that they thought that I would be a good nun, but I'm not a nun. So.
Yeah. Did they try to recruit you to be a nun?
It wasn't a hard sell, but I think it was kind of a soft sell. I went to a larger convent and met other nuns in the United States, and I think that opportunity would have opened up to me if I wanted it, for sure.
Well, you mentioned Facebook, and that touches a nerve with me, because I decided grudgingly in 2009 to join Facebook. I thought Facebook is just something for malcontents to, vent, and I don't want to do that. But then I thought there might be Facebook pages in the Philippines where I was in the Peace Corps. Let me look and see. And I'll be damned if there wasn't one in the community.
Oh, wow.
Where I taught. And to this day, I still have Facebook friends in that community. These are the sons and daughters of the people I knew.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but it's great, and you could do the same thing.
I haven't even, I should look, 100%.
Yeah. Have you said at one point that you encouraged somebody to join the Peace Corps, and they did?
Well, I taught them, and they were a student that was kind of close to me, and they ended up joining the Peace Corps. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I probably influenced her.
Did you follow up with that person?
Yeah, like I'm in touch with a lot of my students. So not from Armenia, but the students that I taught, I keep up with a lot of them.
Do you ever think about going back to Armenia for a visit?
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to go back to Pambak and find those girls.
If what?
I'd love to go back to Pambak, where the girls that I lived with in the house where the old people were dying. I'd love to see how they're doing. I think about them all the time.
What's stopping you?
I know. It's right there. Just get on a plane. So.
Have you ever spoken in schools about the value that you found in Peace Corps?
No, but I would. I've never been invited. I speak on different topics. So, like, I speak in a sociology class, and I give, I do stuff like that. I'm interested in things like that. I would do it, but nobody's asked me to speak about Peace Corps.
Well, you are a volunteer, so you could volunteer.
I could. That's true.
Yes, just call up somebody, and I don't know. I'm not trying to run your life now, but these are things that have occurred to me, and I have taken advantage of it to one extent or another. So,
thank you.
Certainly. Is there anything that, excuse me, is there anything that you were thinking about telling me about your time in the Peace Corps before I got here, but you haven't mentioned?
I really wanted to tell you the bath story, the how many times you take a shower story, and I wanted to tell you the soccer story. Those are probably the two biggest things that I took away. I guess I think that there's value in being the kind of America that sends its young people out into the world and says, hey, this is what Americans are. Like, we're here to help you, and you can learn from us, and we can learn from you, and like, that's just an incredible part of our country. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that...
Oh, I agree. Wow.
That people, when they think of America, one of the things that I'm afraid that we're losing is this identification of ourselves as people to be proud of, and that we have, in and of ourselves, that we're an example of freedom and opportunity and bridge building, and like what a hopeful, incredible thing that Kennedy did when he said, well, we'll send out our young people. They're fantastic. Like, do we feel that way about our young people anymore? Like, do we feel that way about us anymore? Like, I don't know, but what I'm afraid of is that we kind of lost that vision of America, of hopefulness, of like, hey man, we got something here, and we're proud of it, and we're proud of our people. Gosh, I don't think that it's hopeless, but I think if we let that go, gosh, I just think it's a terrible loss.
Why do you think that Peace Corps hasn't fared better? I mean, not just under the Trump administration, but I mean, really, it hasn't grown very much. And there have been times that it seemed like it might even go away when it was merged administratively with Vista and other organizations.
I think that, it's the wolf inside you and the sheep, and it's whichever one you feed. We spend a lot of time not feeding ideas that grow Peace Corps. The idea of selflessness, of service for service's sake. Like, even if it doesn't get you into law school, it's still good to do. right? Like it feels like somehow we became so utilitarian and transactional that there's an inspiration and a hopefulness and a can-do-ness that used to be, it feels like to me, used to be associated very, very strongly with being a young American.
Yeah.
And
I felt that way.
I felt that way too. And I don't know what I don't know what happened, but whatever that was sacred and was energetic, and it seems like it dissipated.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think it's gone, and I don't think it's hopeless.
No, I don't either.
But for sure, it needs to be tendered. It needs to be, it needs to be celebrated and found and discovered and lifted up and nurtured.
Well, it seems to me that the leadership of Peace Corps, I don't even know who they are now, and I think that's part of the problem. That we need somebody who could galvanize a movement to build the Peace Corps.
Right, I agree.
Not just save it, but build it.
But build it.
Yeah.
And there are people who would go. There are young, like, part of the problem is nobody's heard of it now. People, like, if I tell people I was in the Peace Corps, they don't even know what, they think it's something having to do with the military. So part of it is certainly that. Part of it is money. But I think there is a huge well of people who would go, who would love to do something like that.
I think so too.
And they just don't, they don't know.
They're over here, and here's the opportunity, and there's no bridge.
Right. It doesn't seem to me like that would be a very difficult thing to do. It would take, money and organization, but
Sure.
and you got to care about it,
Can you think of anybody who could become the leader? Have you ever given that any thought?
I haven't given that a lot of thought, but I think there could be a lot of people who'd be a good leader like that. I know a lot of people who served and who would be wonderful at that.
Yeah.
If they're just given an opportunity, it doesn't feel like it's going that way. I mean, with the elimination of USAID and things like that, I mean, if we're not going to spend money on literally a starving child, then why would we spend money to send a 25-year-old to Armenia to help the orphans?
You mentioning USAID reminded me there was another thing I was going to ask you. Did you work with any entities in any way when you were in Armenia, like USAID or World Neighbors or?
The convent that I was part of worked with Catholic Charities, of course, but they also worked with a lot of nonprofits. So,
in order to get assets?
Yeah, in order to get assets. Like the cheese that I ate when we had breakfast came from Switzerland, and it was donated, and it's delicious Switzerland cheese.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a very much a global effort to help this convent. They were good. That Mother Superior could network those nonprofits really well. She did a great job.
Did you have any role in that?
I didn't. I mean, she could point to me and say, "And we have Peace Corps volunteers here teaching the orphans English," and so it built on what she was doing in that sort of way. I was helpful, but it wasn't my job to coordinate with the other organizations.
Did any of your students ask you to help them out financially?
They didn't.
Did anyone in town ask that?
They did during the initial language training. I mean, it was a village. I mean, I don't blame them. They didn't have pain medication for their dying, parents.
Mm-hmm.
For the love of God, they needed. So yeah, they asked.
Did you have the image as you walked around there of being the rich American? Because all Americans are rich.
I'm sure that they. Yeah, I mean.
You think they did?
I think that they thought something that was true. I did have. You could tell by the clothes that I was wearing. by like, there was a million ways that you can't, unless I go, even if I went to their grocery store and got on all of their clothes, still, there's not a way not to stick out, I don't think.
No, that's true.
Like, and yeah, I did come from an Armenian apartment. I still, you know, they would say, why did your father let you come here alone?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I said, well, I don't have to ask my father permission to do anything, half of the time they would be appalled at that. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, there's this horrible country where girls just go around doing what their fathers don't do. And like, tell them to. And then other people hear that and go, oh my God, what a life you must be able to live without having to ask your father to do. I wish I could have a life like that. But you know, that's both sides of the thing, right?
It sure is.
That's
Yeah.
no judgment either side.
Okay. Well, unless there's anything else that's just occurred to you that you want to get in here.
I don't think so. I appreciate so much everyone else's who's spoken their stories and you coming to talk to me.
Well, it's my pleasure, and it always is, and I hope to keep doing it.